The following program is an LTX Enterprises production. The Falls Count Everywhere podcast would like to mention our friends at the following. The Searcher and Hide podcast, for mind-intriguing discussions about wrestling, movies, Bigfoot, aliens, and everything in between. You'll look no further than the Searcher and Hide podcast. You can find the Searcher and Hide podcast on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms. Go check them out today. And Outside the Ring STL, join Shaft and General Vader along with others who share their love for professional wrestling as they talk about the recent shows from the major wrestling companies, all independent promotions from around the St. Louis area, and even talk about great moments in St. Louis professional wrestling history. Find them on Facebook at Outside the Ring STL. Get ready for episode number 29 of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast, featuring second and third generation wrestlers, the Angel of Light, Izzy Blackwell, and his son, Damien Blackwell. This podcast is scheduled for one episode, where falls count everywhere. We thank all of you joining us for tonight's episode of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Before we get underway, we pay honor, tribute, and respect to the greatest nation in the world as we play our national anthem.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the
And we are live here for the Thursday Night Ritual here with your Falls Count Everywhere podcast. This is episode number 29. We have a great special treat for you here tonight. Second and third generation wrestlers here with us this evening. The names will light Izzy Blackwell and, of course, your son, Damien Blackwell, will be joining us here momentarily. I am one of your hosts here, Rough Cut Rick Ruby, and boy, let me tell you, sorry we got on a little bit late here tonight. Actually had a little bit of an emergency besides what's going on here. But apparently I had to find my electronic SIM chip. Yes, that's right. My computer started really bad and almost now. And so I had to go out and replace it again. And let me tell you, it's not fun when you have to make an unexpected trip and expense like that. It just wipes you out. So I really kind of hate that. So let me show you what I'm going through here. Right here. Apparently, Mr. GQ is having some issues getting into the studio. I had to somehow hardwire or whatever the heck is going on here. I actually had some trouble as well. So, yeah, I don't know. What in the world? What's
Twinkle, twinkle, body slam, bet you wonder who I am. Grab a beer, grab a snack, because it's the return of the Matt Maniac.
Oh, for Lord's sake. Oh, I thought the radio network was
locked that
done with.
bald guy out. I don't know why I'm pointing because the camera's not on me. I locked the bald guy out, and, you know, I took over.
Oh my Lord! This is what I get here.
I helped fix. Hey, hold on, Ruby. I helped fix some stuff. Hold on. We got that. What else did I fix here? There we go.
I can't lie.
That's a lot better. That's a lot better nameplate.
Oh my Lord! The Matt Maniac has returned. What in God's name? I have no idea. This is what I get. This is why I had trouble, because you somehow confused the interrupts for Mr. GQ, and now he can't get on here tonight. Well, I'll tell you what.
I need the passwords. I can give it to you later. If you want the passwords, I need the show notes. You need to email those over to me right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah. Let me just get those over to you here in just about a minute here. I don't know what else to say other than what is this? What have you done? You messed up GQ's name tag? What the hell is this? What? Oh my God. I had a hell of a day, and now I got to come to this crap. This is supposed to be my reprieve from everything. Not dealing with the freaking Matt Maniac. Oh, Lord. Now you got GQ messed up here. What is this? GQ's really mad now. GQ, I'm sorry. I have no idea what the hell's going on. Oh, my God. Oh, Lord. Some of our regulars are getting on to Mr. GQ here. So don't worry. Hang in here. So, I hope you got those show notes.
No, that picture in the back looks a lot better than it used to.
Which one are you talking about? Mine? Or are you talking about yours?
Your pictures never look good. Hold on, let's see. Let's do that. That one right above Benji.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
It's good when the moon has a lunar eclipse instead.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, the moon is no longer around, at least that particular moon. All right, well, Matt Maniac, GQ can't get in, so I guess you're going to be doing the show with me, and hopefully you're going to get those notes. All I can say is, please be on your best behavior. This is not the radio network. This is, hopefully I don't have to see a live shot of him.
This ain't the radio. What the hell?
Oh my God, I have no idea. But
Yeah, I wanted to be on here just because I remember the darkness in some person, and I think the darkness needs to come out of another.
Oh gosh.
I have history, so I might as well be. Hey, I wasn't allowed to be on the show with the Beast. You know, I wanted to be here for that one.
Well, yeah, there was reasons for that. There were reasons for that, and you're not gonna hear those reasons either, Matt Maniac. And oh my lord, please, please. All I can say is we've got an awesome show here tonight. Hopefully you got those notes. We're gonna go ahead and get started here just very shortly. But just everybody knows who we got here tonight, and we're just gonna have some fun with this. And you're very familiar with our guest, I'm sure, Matt Maniac, so you should not have a problem with it.
Oh, look! Ducks!
Oh my lord.
I like the ducks.
Okay, yes, it's not a secret I use StreamYard to help produce my show, okay? It sure works better than Minicam, who crashes on you constantly, and they give you they make you
get Blog
Talk,
Talk?
they give you support. So
Can we get Blog Talk?
no, we cannot do Blog Talk. No.
Why?
Because you messed up that channel too. It's like
But
everything you touch turns to crap. That's basically what it is. Everything you touch turns to crap, Maniac. You can't do this to me, man.
Speaking of crap, what is this doing in here? Who put that there? Nobody likes that.
That was GQ's doing. That's probably about the only thing I can agree with you on here. I have no idea why that.
This I like. I uploaded that myself. I drew it with my feet and crayons.
Did you do that in art class today? Is that because that's pretty impressive. Oh my god. It's apparently something that I'm not going to be able to get there, Hope.
It's called riddling, Hope. It's called riddling.
Oh my gosh. All right, so here we go, man. We've had enough. So
it's not gonna happen, Aaron.
oh my god. So tell you, we've got our guest waiting in the wings, Matt Maniac. So hopefully you got your notes.
I'll fix the stuff here. Hold on. Put that. No, we'll just turn that off. We don't need that.
All right.
I like the ducks. Oh, wait a minute. They got a duck there too.
All right.
I like the duck. Can we keep the duck? No, we can't keep the duck.
No, leave the duck. And so sorry. We'll do away with that. Okay, so let's go and get started here, guys.
Wait. I got a duck. Duck.
This is what I'm talking about, Maniac. Could you please shut up so I can move on with the show, please? Thank you.
It's okay. It's your show. I just have everything in control.
Oh my lord. And you got, well, we're going to move on because we've got our guests waiting in the wings. We've got two great guests waiting in the wings here tonight. So our featured guest for the evening, let's see here. Hold on. Let's see. I got this right. Okay, perfect. And there we go. All right. So our two featured guests this evening are carrying out a traditional bloodline back to the mid-1970s. That's right. And the second generation.
Damn!
He had an in-ring career that spanned around 17 years, making his well-known name not to be forgotten with his hardcore ground-and-pound grapple style that traveled well throughout the Midwest. The third generation wrestler only started back in 2019, but has made great strides and set himself up for future success inside the ropes for years to come. Falls Count Everywhere Nation, put your hands together for the Angel of Light, Izzy Blackwell, and his son, Damien Blackwell. All right. There we go. I think we got them. Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? How you doing?
How are you doing, sir?
I think, Izzy, want to make sure that your mic is on, sir. I think you were trying to talk.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Excellent.
I got a feeling your partner in crime probably had something to do with that too.
No. I didn't touch the mic. It's not me.
Yeah. Well,
Izzy, I missed you.
I didn't mean you. I thought Felicia. I thought Felicia had saved me from you.
Oh, Izzy, by the way, Angelic says hi.
Tell her hi. But you I thought you were locked up somewhere, Matt Maniac.
I was. I
Well,
opened
how
the
are
door.
you?
They let me out.
Oh man, that would have made a good chapter for a new book.
I can see why they let him out. Who would want to contain him?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. So, all right, gentlemen. Let's see. Just saw before I start, GQ cannot be here. Sorry, but now Matt Maniac. Did you
Good
get the note?
cover.
Wow. I'd rather dealt with Mr. GQ.
Nobody wants that. No, ask everybody in the chat room. Nobody likes GQ. So you got me.
I bet you if I take a poll right now, I think GQ will come out ahead as the fan favorite.
and with all with
How do I do this? Wait. Here we go.
Oh yeah, here we go.
with all the money GQ's got, I can act like I like him.
You have no idea how much of that money is being spent on medication, though. Trust me.
You need a larger budget.
That's okay. I understand needing medication to help you. I mean, you know, I thought I was the Antichrist incarnate, and now my son Damien truly believes that he was an angel kicked out of heaven. He is the deceived one, Damien Blackwell. So
Yeah.
I understand medication.
Yeah. So, well, Damien Blackwell, I'm sure we'll definitely we'll be talking with Damien as well. Like only worked here about a. I'm not even looking at your screen. What the hell? You've got sock puppets and everything else that's creeping the screen. What the hell, man?
See, here's one thing, Ruby. You know that only idiots have puppets, though. So.
And I picked tonight to stop drinking. That's the thing. That's the worst thing I could have ever done. Well, yeah. So Angelic Sin is, of course, sent you a nice little love message there, and yeah, so it was fun. Yeah, those we'll get a chance hopefully to talk about those days as well. But what I want to go ahead and get started off with here is with Izzy first, of course. A lot of people like to know what ties you had to the Crusher, Jerry Blackwell. And when did you start watching wrestling? And what programs or promotions did you usually watch when you were growing up?
Oh wow, that's a lot of questions in one. Let me make sure I keep them straight. First of all, my relations to Jerry Blackwell are actually maternal. My mother was Jerry's sister, and he did not smarten anybody up to the business, let anybody know anything except for Grandpa. And that was because of a threat of killing the first wrestler he saw beating up his son. Of course, that didn't happen a whole lot, as you know, from his career. I grew up watching a lot, being my family, once my mom had gotten married, migrated to the Midwest. And I started watching it at a pretty young age, about 5 or 6 years old. I was watching wrestling at the Chase every Sunday. Me and Grandpa would skip out of church a few minutes early so that we could get home in time and watch it. And then cable rolled around, and I was also watching WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling at the time. So I became quite familiar with the Von Erich family and Bruiser Brody all at a young age. And, you know, when that's your family, you know, but of course, my mom was like, no, your uncle does that stuff and it's crazy. You're never going to get into that, which is why I was so late getting into the business in my life. I didn't start till I was 29. But AWA, until they became the only show in the business, I never really was a WWE champion or fan, WWF fan, whatever. I never got into the whole Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior cartoon kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was roughly around, if I had to guess, around 85.
Um, my starts of watching wrestling were probably a little more like 74ish, maybe. If I was 6 years old, I'm a pretty old guy nowadays. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, Sam Muchnick was definitely a household name, and of course,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people may not know this, but Uncle Jerry was one of the few guys to ever hold the Missouri heavyweight title for Sam Muchnick. In fact, he did so twice, and never go on to win the world title. I know there was him and Ted DiBiase and maybe a few others, but it was a stepping stone, to that plateau. And a lot of people don't know it, but Jerry held that title twice, and that's probably the one I hold most dear in my heart as far as a family thing. Other than seeing my son win his first title, and of course, when you win your own first title, it's kind of an honor. Then you realize, oh crap, I got to do this all the time, and there's somebody always shooting for me, and it totally changes the way you view the business when you're the guy that's supposed to be the guy.
Right. Yeah. And so I think Jerry started at 74, I believe, if I'm doing my history right. But yeah, I mean, watching at a very young age, and 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 also with that, I mean, that NWA Missouri State title. I mean, that, like I said, there's a lot of notable old school Hall of Famers that held that title. It's definitely something that, I mean, not just in the St. Louis Wrestling Club promotion per se, but even just around, because I'm sure Bob Geigel's promotion had guys aiming for that too, and just a lot of guys. I mean, freaking, Harley Race, Ric Flair. I think even Terry Funk had it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a notable title. So
Yeah.
nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah, and him and Ken Patera had held the AWA World Tag Team Champions. Him and Buck Robley had held the Central States version of the NWA Tag Team Champions, but it was always that Missouri State title that was, when I was younger and he had the belt, I could always go to school and tell my friends, hey man, that my uncle, because back when I was growing up, it seemed like everybody in grade school was a wrestling fan, and everybody knew wrestling at the Chase, and it was nice to know that you could go to school and tell those kids, hey, that's my uncle. And like I said, I mean, even my mom didn't get smartened up from my grandma. It was only my grandpa, and so nobody. And today, even though there are people who think they're smart to the business, all I can say to those people is get in that ring and land on your back a couple times and see how you feel the next day, because it's no trampoline, that's for sure. And it's probably the toughest predetermined business there is.
Yeah.
And we all know that boxing and a lot of MMA to a point is rigged by somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, well, those, like I said, those are extreme sports too, and like you said, nothing to play around with. But
Yeah, and a couple more things about Uncle Jerry that a lot of people don't know is that he actually wrestled during the 70s for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation for Vince McMahon's dad. And he had a tryout in 1984 for Vince McMahon, but they wanted all these wrestlers to go in and cut a promo too. And he wasn't a real patient guy from what I remember even. But his big deal was like, hey, I'm a wrestler. I'm not a talker. I'm not going to stand around here, and this is my time too. So he decided, screw Vince McMahon. I'm out of here, and headed back down south in the Midwest and continued to work the indies.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, I guess you know, I wouldn't even know. I mean, because Jerry would have seemed to be the type that even if putting a heel manager with them, even with like Blassie at the time, or
Yeah,
I mean, if the guy don't want to talk, get somebody that could talk for you. That's the whole thing.
absolutely.
That's the purpose of a manager, and I think the Matt Maniac would know about that. About
Absolutely.
That's right. So,
Yeah, he would know something about that.
but I'm gonna switch gears here over here real quick because I got a question here for Damien. Now, because obviously, he's he's a young one, and he's learning everything that's you're from the two generations in front of him. So Damien, tell us the moment that you realized that you wanted to follow. I'm sorry, that you wanted to follow in your dad's footsteps and become a third generation wrestler.
Man, I'd have to say kind of young because watching it all, wrestling and everything, when you're younger, it's really cool. And as I started growing up and getting to learn everything, I started to be realizing it could actually be a reality. And since then it's started going really well. But
Yeah. But I know you watched your dad a lot, and it's just I don't know if there's like was there like a point like maybe after your dad was done wrestling they were like, hey, maybe it's kind of my turn to go in, or did you kind of decide that you wanted to start doing it before he stopped before he retired from the ring?
I'd have to say it got like the thoughts started getting like real after like he had retired, and I started learning a lot of stories and stuff that I can actually remember to this day now, since my brain's developed a lot more you know since being a little kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that's us, you know, because I don't know, you know, because Izzy, when did you actually? Because I really meant to ask you earlier about when your last match was. I mean, when you actually stepped away
Oh
from?
wow. I honestly can't even remember.
Okay.
Sad thing is, Matt Maniac could probably have a better chance of remembering.
I'm thinking,
Um,
I'm thinking.
there was, we knew with about 6 months before I retired that my back was shattered. I confess I was eating prescription pain medication by the handful just to be able to go out and put on a show. Um, but I'm thinking that it was probably somewhere like oh
2005
wow
to 2006.
somewhere around that area, 2005, 2006, 2007 maybe, but somewhere in that area.
Wrestling, right?
Do what?
It was Max Wrestling, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And unfortunately, a manager whose stables I seem to feud with all throughout the Midwest and the South, Devin Andrews, got me got me to got me to misuse my words and guarantee a victory over his guy. And my former partner Harsh knew that the screw job was on and went to the promoter and got himself put in the match so that he could watch my back. And I ended up handcuffed to the ropes, and he ended up pinning who my original opponent was, Shorty Biggs, and he ended up actually not only winning my title but forcing me to retire, all because of but once you're handcuffed, if the man with the key runs away and you can't catch him, there ain't a whole lot you can do. So the second I realized I was handcuffed, I knew my career was over. And I hate to say it as a man, but the waterworks kind of started before the referee's hand even hit 3, because I knew I'd just been duped and the screws had just been put to me.
Yeah. And it's a shame. I mean, as far as whenever, we stepped away from Max and all that, and you know, so it was actually kind of shorter than I thought. I thought you had wrestled a little longer, but like I said, my memory goes around. So we're trying to remember a lot of the guys around here,
Yeah.
and
1998 till 2006.
okay, yeah. Well, still, even though you stepped away from the ring, though, I know you've been involved in the wrestling brotherhood.
Oh
community.
yeah,
So,
I worked as a pencil. For those fans that don't know, that's the booker for a couple companies after I retired. I've mentored young men that have gone on to do decent things in the business, and then once my son got old enough and was like, "Dad, I want to. What do you think if I just told you I wanted to train to be a wrestler?" And my first thought was, there ain't a chance in hell. After all the injuries that I had, and this was before I was even diagnosed with the CTE, which is the chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is run rampant in wrestling, football, those type sports, from so many head injuries. But then he was like, well, the guys that'll be training me are Frankie D and Wicked, and they want you to come down and work with the kids that are there, with their promos in psychology. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be there every show or every practice, and I trust these guys, because they're when it's your kid, there's only a handful of guys that you trust with, their career, especially early on. He was only 14 when he started training. And your body's pretty delicate at 14 years old, but he took right to it, man. He immediately became known as Bumper to the entire training facility, because he was out bumping any of the cruiserweights up through the heavyweight guys that were in there, and he really took to it pretty quick. So,
yeah.
But yeah, working with Frankie D with his Ring of Courage Training Center, I got to help a lot of young men that are working with CHWA now. But and I certainly am not going to crap on those guys, because my son wrestles with them as well. But there are definitely more than one tier in that company. There are guys that can put on a really good match, and then there are guys that are not so, but they try and mix them up instead of, in my early days, and going back even before I got into the business, that they had enhancement talent. And so that's one of the things that CHWA needs to do, is figure out who their enhancement talent is and use them like that, instead of trying to send them out to work a 30-minute match with even as young as he is, Damien or PT Beckham or Chris Exodus. Those guys they can really go, but they try and send some of these guys who aren't as good and really expose what we do, and try and put them on an even playing field with the guys that should be their stars. And then I think that's affected a lot of people's view of the company. But hopefully, with them coming out of this pandemic and starting to run again, hopefully they'll mix some things up and start to use their top talent in its best way. And there's nothing wrong with being an enhancement talent. One of the guys who did some of my training worked as enhancement talent for WWF and WCW, Gary Night Train Jackson. So there's nothing wrong with being an enhancement talent. Of course, it's a whole different story being an enhancement talent like Gary and being a local enhancement guy, but it's essentially still the same job. It's to go out to the best of your ability and make the other guy look like he should, like he could compete for a belt or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to let everybody know once again we are here tonight with Izzy Blackwell and Damien Blackwell, second and third generation wrestlers. Izzy wrestled around the Midwest from '98 to 2006, whereas Damien Blackwell just started in 2019, and I had something on the tip of my. Oh yeah, what I wanted to tell Damien is, be thankful that you've got that ring at 14 years old. Because I don't know. I tell some people this, and I've told my story. Where few people have heard it before, but the way I've got my training is I self-taught my bumps on a 2 inches of polyurethane laying on the grass, and I took straight back bumps there with no give. And
Yeah.
when I first got in that ring at 21 years old, it felt like heaven. I'll tell you. Well, at least something's got some give.
That's one of the things that I pointed out to him, and Matt Maniac can attest to this too, because a good manager always needs to be trained as well to some degree, because you never know when you're going to get busted in the head and take one of those falls. But when we first started, we had to set up the ring for the veterans, and then either before the ring got there or after it was set up, we would take bumps on the floor. We weren't even allowed in the ring at that point, which is why I always get bothered by promoters that let little kids in the ring during intermission and things, because it's a bit of a sacred place. And, Damien has, learned one of the things that, a lot of guys may not ever catch even, but a wrestler wiping his feet before he steps into the ring, because you never want to crap in your own plate, and it's a disrespect to the ring that is going to keep you from dying, if you had to take all them crazy bumps on a floor, so it's kind of a sacred place, and he respects that ring very much. And even when we got the bump in the ring, it was in Carol Brown's old wood ring, and that's
Sorry.
yeah, that's kind of like, if you want to know what that's bumping, if you're just a fan out there listening, go take a back bump, which is the basic wrestling fall on your living room floor. It's the exact same thing.
Bumping in the ground was a lot softer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's designed for boxing, and we're taking bumps on that. Yeah, if you're not hitting the center of that ring, then you're in for a hurt for a while.
Yeah.
The center had no give in that ring.
Well, when Gary did the training with me and Harsh, and I'm sure you've had some ties there at some point too. We trained with Gary at South Broadway Athletic Club's training center, and that's what they had in there was an old boxing ring, and it was. I was like, oh my goodness, when do I get to work in one of these like newfangled metal bar rings? Yeah. So, yeah. Like I said, people that they think they know so much about the business because more than enough has been exposed to the world, but they need to understand that there are guys that get injuries that end their careers all the time, on the indie circuit, any of the major independents to AEW and WWE. There are guys that the CTE thing with the concussions, that's what the determination was with Chris Benoit, and that horrible incident was that he suffered from CTE, and it was at a late stage. And I don't find it hard to believe that the guy might have been bad off enough, because I know the effects it's had on me, that he might accidentally in a rage kill his, Nancy and Daniel. And then when he became lucid again, realized what he had done and taken his own life. I know that's not a popular stance, but I know where it's possible, being diagnosed with this disorder. And, people like Edge, Tess Martin, I'm sorry, not Edge, but Tess Martin, he had the same thing. Chris Canyon, same thing. There are guys like Daniel Bryan and Christian who are probably going to end up with their careers being over because of it. What wrestlers go through, man. To It's like the actor in the movie being the stuntman, the director, the choreographer. You have to play a whole lot of roles, and the big one of those is being a stuntman and taking all those crazy bumps. There wasn't some secret hidden pad when Mankind went flying off a cage from 25, 30 feet in the air through that rinky-dink announce table. Don't try that one at home, kids.
Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness. As Matt Maniac's picture is floating somehow, I don't know. I'm not going to bother.
I'm free.
Okay.
Free falling.
Go back to freaker page.
Oh no!
I got another question I got to ask Izzy here. So we're gonna go back to the Crusher. In reference to Jerry, in reference to his passing. Many have reported his cause of death as him being overweight and suffering a heart attack, but you're saying that particular cause of death is false. So
that is
explain exactly what happened and led to his passing.
Yeah, that's an absolute falsehood, and I've heard that many times. What had happened was he was on his way back from a show, like many of us. We drive to and from shows, and he wanted to try and be home for the rest of the end of Sunday and Monday and Tuesday before he'd be back out on the road. So he was driving back to Stone Mountain in Georgia and had a car wreck. And now his being obese did impact the fact that he had some broken bones and had become immobile for a while, and he caught pneumonia. And anybody who knows anything about the medical field can tell you that if you just lay around and you don't do nothing, pneumonia is one of the things that's most likely to kick in. And he actually died from complications due to pneumonia. The man probably, I mean, you saw him in the ring, man. Guys like him, I like to put Uncle Jerry in a category with guys like Rodney Anawai, Yokozuna. Those guys were special big guys. I knew I wasn't going to be doing those standing drop kicks. So what I did was I learned how to do an enziguri kick. And of course, Damien has that in his repertoire too. Just because when somebody catches a big guy trying to kick them, they're thinking in their mind, I got their foot, I caught it. Now I'm just going to tip this fat guy over, and by the time they've thought all that, they've gotten kicked in the back of the head with the other boot. But anyway, to make the long answer short, he died of complications due to pneumonia because of a car accident. It had nothing to do with his heart. He was very healthy for his size, and TV made him look a lot bigger. I mean, in girth he was big, but he was only 5'9" and 475 pounds. So I mean, the guy he was beyond agile, especially for that time. Um, you know, back in those days, you couldn't come off the top rope, you couldn't kick with the toe of your boot, you couldn't throw punches. All those things were illegal. You couldn't throw the guy over the top rope, unless it was a battle royal. So I mean, the business is a lot different now, but for his time, he was way beyond the curve, man. And so was Rodney Yokozuna. You hear guys and when you see guys like that who can go out and do 30 minutes and they come back and yeah, they might be breathing heavy, but they're not gassed. They might get blown up here and there, but they're able to catch it and get a little gas in their tank and keep going. Where I've seen guys like who was it? Bill Goldberg that came back and wrestled Drew McIntyre a couple months ago. At the end of the match, Goldberg's like sucking air and can't hardly stand up. And this is the guy that two companies have tried to build around. That's almost laughable. No wonder the Falcons cut him from football.
Oh my God, yeah. Ooh, boy. So before I actually am going to turn it over to Mac Maniac here for about a question or two, but I do want to let everybody know that we do have our lines open for those who are listening or who've got questions or comments.
Ooh.
Want to say to either one of our guests, our line is open 314-764-5540. So just let us know and we will do our best to get you on. And of course, if you do call while somebody else is on the line, we can't get to you, wait about a couple minutes and then, hey, look. Oh, hold on a second. I think I know who this is.
Probably Matt Maniac calling.
This is who I think it is. You're in deep trouble, sir.
Is this where I call in at?
Oh no!
Oh no! I'm dropping you. No.
He's on the phone and on the computer.
Oh my Lord! What are you doing to me, Matt Maniac? No, that's for our listeners, not for you.
But I'm listening.
Oh God!
If you got to put up with this guy all night, it might be 420 for the rest of your life.
Oh my gosh! I'm telling you.
What are you, a dumbass?
God,
Yeah, but is he at least know what the is?
Don't call the line, Matt Maniac. That's for our listeners that want to talk to Izzy or Damien, please.
But I want to talk to him, and I'm listening.
Okay. Well, you've actually got questions to ask.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Did you get the notes?
Yes, but couldn't you have written them in crayon? It'd be easier for me to read.
You can't convert crayon over in a computer file, Matt Maniac.
There's a way. I know it.
And don't try and draw on the screen. You're going to damage it, okay? So just try to read.
Wait, I know there's a way to do it, too.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh,
go ahead, Matt Maniac. You got your questions ready?
Yeah, I got it.
The patients have taken over the mental ward.
I have been running this train for a while.
Oh, no.
So, Izzy and Damien, both of you, I know some of it was kind of answered. How did you get your opportunity to get into the wrestling business? Who trained and taught you ring basics, and what did you get the most out of your wrestling training?
Well, as the Matt Maniac, you would know that my initial training was at the good old MVWA Training Center, and fortunately,
grass, didn't it?
Oh yeah, and fortunately, I had some people like Gary Knight, Train Jackson, Steve Sharp, Bama. Actually, the first time I ever got body slammed while training, I was slammed by, and bless his soul, Bama Bodine, who was about 5'8" and 100 pounds with a couple wet sponges on his back. And another guy who I give my respects to up in heaven is Ben Oliver, Big Bad Ben, who ran MRW, Midwest Renegade Wrestling, and our GCW, Gateway Championship Wrestling. He and I wrestled in the 1986 Junior Nationals. So we had a amateur wrestling match, and he beat me, and he took second in that tournament, a nationwide tournament. I took third, And so because of that, we never, a lot of guys had problems with him, but we never did. And he let me, he'd set up a deal with me and me alone. If I would come help set up for their shows with the ring, that I could come train at their proper training facility with proper trainers and train every night if I wanted to. And, Mama didn't raise no fool. I jumped on that train real quick. So, there you got Ben Oliver and Ty Dalton. Another guy that had a big part with my training was the Wild Man, the Beast. And, so, I mean, I had a whole lot of trainers, which was good because it made me prepared for a lot of different styles,
Yeah. Well, what about Damien?
Yeah, well, obviously, like we said earlier, with Frankie did a majority of the training, and obviously there was some in-ring work. We had Wicked for cardio, so that definitely helped me get especially with being a big guy, helping me last longer without getting winded as easily in the ring, getting all my cardio up, and it was really helpful, especially to have people like them training me. Especially with being at a young age, they were able to help me and get me through everything really simply, without having me overthink it. And it's been able to get me to this point, so it worked pretty well, clearly.
Nice.
And he for a young kid, Damien has picked up real quick on booking himself. In fact, I hope I don't embarrass your son, but a couple weeks ago over me trying to set something up for him, and he was like, "Look, Dad, this is my bit now. I want to do this." And in his first year before the pandemic broke out, and he had wrestled almost a year to the date when the pandemic broke out and everybody started shutting down, he had already wrestled 60 plus matches in less than a year. So I mean, he was on a pace for about 80 matches had the pandemic not broken out during his first year, which, as both of you guys know, 80 matches your rookie year, that's a lot of business that you're doing. He's done some traveling already, so but Mom and Dad still go with him. You never want to pass up a chance to embarrass your kid.
Yeah, I guess not, man. Guess not. Wow. I think you got one more question for Izzy there, Maniac, as of right now.
I asked. Oh wait, yeah, there is.
I've lost my audio feed here.
Can you hear me?
I don't think he's at. I don't think so.
Izzy.
Give me 1 minute, guys. I'll be back. You can talk with Damien while I'm gone.
Okay, so I'll ask a question for Damien while we wait for you, okay? So we'll wait on your question here, Matt Maniac. But Damien, what I want to ask here is whether it be in the business for a short while or even to those who have been in the business for many years, what's your take on someone who feels that they paid their dues and not wanting to contribute to a show?
You never stop paying your dues. You could be, in this business 20 years, and it's great, especially when you get to see them, still trying to help out in some ways. You never stop. Just like you never stop learning. You'll always learn something new, no matter how long you've been here.
All right, excellent. It's actually an excellent answer I wanted to hear, and I'll elaborate that on a little bit more. But we actually do have a call coming in.
That's not me.
No, I know. Thank you.
Thank goodness.
All right, you've got the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Who's this?
This is the Chaos Jester.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm sorry?
Who's this?
This is the Chaos Jester.
Oh, Chaos. What's going on, man?
Oh, I'm having a delightful time listening to this podcast, but I have a question, actually 2 questions for Damien Blade.
Dang it.
Or not
who?
Damien Blade, I'm sorry, Damien Blackwell.
I was like,
I
man,
appreciate the compliment.
Sorry, Damien.
Wow, that's
For Damien Blackwell.
there.
Yeah,
What are your questions,
so go ahead, man.
Damien, my first question. You believe you're an angel sent from heaven, correct? Or kicked out of heaven.
You could say.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, how would you feel if I sent you back?
Well, I mean, that is truly the goal. So I'm here to, get rid of any and all evil that's, sadly corrupted the wrestling business that we've, come to this day. So.
Hey, Chaos. Be careful about what you challenge to Blackwell, because you may be trying to send him one way, but he might send you straight to hell.
I've got a throne waiting for me down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that Chaos Jester was trying to get to Damien earlier in the chat, and so I meant to come back to that, but I'm glad that Chaos called in to kind of address the fact. Now, I don't know. I know that the Wrestling Apex has a show on April 18th. I know that Cottage Hills has one in Centerville on April 25th. Now, you gentlemen could possibly either cross paths at either one of these shows, maybe take care of business, and but if
well, he has a match already on the 25th.
Oh, he does.
But I yes, he does, and I'll let him promote that.
Yeah, with Tommy
For me,
Davis,
on the other
he's going
hand,
to
I
get what
don't
he
have one
deserves.
yet, but I will be there.
All right. I'll tell you what, Chaos. I'm gonna take this other call here, but thank you very much for calling in, man.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, let's see if I got this here. You've got the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Who's this? Hello.
Hello?
Hello, caller.
Hello?
Okay. I guess I missed the call. Oh well. We'll give it about another way.
We'll get him next time.
Yeah. We'll probably give him about a couple minutes here. So I guess Izzy is trying to regroup here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go. Ringtone you not brought to you by Apple. You got the Falls Count Everywhere podcast.
That's a problem.
This is P.T. Beckham.
Uh-oh, it's Mr. Beckham. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I just wanted to tell you all that I'm enjoying the podcast, and it's really good to see Izzy Blackwell live and live in color on my phone here on my news feed. I didn't have any questions or anything. I just want to say how much I appreciate Izzy Blackwell and how much I love working with Damien. And can we please get Izzy Blackwell in the Hall of Fame, in the Midwest Hall of Fame? Can we please do that as a wrestling community, please?
Amen.
Yeah.
That's all I really wanted to say, man. So I know Damien Blackwell, he's going to be one of the biggest names in the area very, very soon.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, PT.
Love, man. Nothing but love. Nothing but love, guys. So I just wanted to hop in here and try to maybe open some people's eyes for the Midwest Bad Boy, So y'all continue on with the great show. But Izzy, I love you, brother, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Thank you. And you keep going with your career, young man. I'm very proud of where you're at right now.
Well, I appreciate that. You've always been a mentor, and anytime Damien needs anything, the Midwest Bad Boy always has his back. So just remember that.
There you go. Thanks, man.
I'll see y'all later on.
All right,
No problem.
Have a good night.
Much love.
That's actually PT Beckham actually challenging for the CHWA heavyweight title on April 25th, facing Johnny Banks. So, yeah.
And in fact, if we've got time to talk about it, I'm sure that Damien might like to discuss a contract that he signed for that particular show just the other day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd definitely be because I didn't know you even had a match, Damien. I'm definitely interested to hear that.
It was recently signed. I finally get to get my hands on Tommy Davis, as he goes by now. He thought it was a good idea at the TWA show to attack me after my match, so it's good to finally have him stuck inside the ring with me, so I can get my hands on him, and he'll know next time not to do that.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So, kind of a grudge match, I guess. That's coming your way on the 25th of April in Centerville.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to that one. They training center together, and although Tommy Davis is a little bit older by a few years actually than Damien, it's going to be interested in seeing what it's going to be like when you're not playmates in the ring and not trying to hurt each other, and you're not looking to, as Dusty Rhodes used to say, looking for the pay window, if you will. It's a little different when your payday depends on how you perform against somebody as opposed to training. So I look forward to those two guys having a really good match, and I'm not just saying that because Damien's my son. I'm really a big fan of his. There are a few things that he's adapted from me, but he's really is kind of his own man. He's going to be like he's only been 17 for 2 months. The kid's already like 6'2", 6'3", something like that. Probably about 225 on the weight. So I mean, he does things that a lot of big guys probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look forward to spending the rest of my days watching him grow in the ring and seeing what life on the road's like, and trying to teach him to stay away from, shall I say, ring rats.
I'm not saying a word.
Well, I'll tell you those days.
Matt Maniac, I don't know what you're doing, but I know it's you because you keep messing with my sound. Now I can't hear you again.
It's not me. I have nothing to do with it.
I'm sorry, but
imagine that.
Yeah, with Izzy though, I'm sure Matt Maniac had something to do with it. Yeah, he's tried talking a few times. He's coming through like Max Headroom here. If you kind of know the reference back, going back to the '80s. But Izzy will be back here. But So for those who are, like I said, if you got any questions for any one of us, feel free to give us a call, 314-764-5540. And of course, let's see. Oh my gosh. Some of my stuff's starting to freeze up too. I'll tell you what, Maniac, if I find you,
I didn't do it.
I'm gonna kick you so hard you're gonna go. I'm gonna kick you into last week. I'll tell you what. You better hope I don't find you.
It's Mary Moon. She did it.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. I thought it was the lizards that Mr. Lilly works with. I'm sorry. Oh my god, no. Oh, so my goodness.
No, Michael Lilly's talking about actual like the animal rats because he'll do that.
Oh my gosh, no. Okay, I think he may be coming back. I hope so. Because then, if so, you are in. All right, Izzy, are you back, sir?
Yeah, it's got to be that Matt Maniac messing with my that
No!
I need to go find Attila Khan, and we can go out and do some hunting with my cell phone and shoot it.
Well, I was telling the audience here that a few times he's messed with you. Your audio was coming across like you're talking like Max Headroom.
It was an easy remix. The one time he had a beat you could dance to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maniac better be lucky that he doesn't know where he's. That I don't know where he's at because I'm going to kick him into last week. Yeah. Get him out of here. Oh my goodness.
I found Playboy's basement, and I'm camped out in the basement.
Oh my.
He's
least-
out of
Playboy.
town.
At least it's not PYT's closet.
There's too many people in that closet.
That's a lot of people go in, but they never come out.
Oh my goodness. Matt Maniac, you have a question for Izzy.
What? Oh, yeah. Wait. Okay, sorry. Wait. What I do here? Wait a minute. I did something. There we are. Where is Izzy? What
Yes.
are some notable names that you worked with throughout your career, and who's your favorite wrestler to work with?
Well, as far as independent workers, we could go anywhere from the man himself right there, Rough Cut Rick Ruby, one of the toughest fought, Brian James, my former partner Harsh. We beat each other across the Midwest and the South. We had Sherry Martell fighting over us in Georgia as to who she was going to manage, and there's some talent out there. And I was blessed to work on some shows with the late James Harris, Kamala, Marty Jannetty. I worked a show down in Georgia, right outside my family's ancestral home of Stone Mountain. I always refer to it as the Heaven and Hell show because Jake Roberts was in one corner smoking crack. Can I say that? And Ted DiBiase was in the other corner preaching to all the young guys. Which I can't say nothing about being a born again Christian now, but at that point I was not. So I always referred to that as the Heaven and Hell show.
Which was which?
Do what?
Which was which?
At the time, Jake was definitely the hell part of it. He's doing. I'm happy to see that he's gotten clean and healthy, and let's hope he stays that way for the rest of his life and can enjoy his kids and grandkids. I also worked a show with Matt Maniac for a gentleman named Carol Brown. I worked several shows for him, but we worked a show which was one of Randy Orton's only independent shows in the area, and he let's say the person he was booked to work wasn't the best wrestler to ever come out of the gutter. And Randy literally knocked a row of lockers over in the locker room where we changed because he was so angered at this gentleman's inability to be a professional or to wrestle. And I think the only thing that saved that guy was that his dad, Bob Orton Sr., was on the show as well and was there and was like, "Hey, kid, I got our pay. You took the book and let's get out of here." And, of course, worked many shows with Bob Orton. So I've been blessed, man. I've worked with a lot of good people. I worked with that, whole bunch out of Chicago. Ace Steel, Colt Cabana. Never worked a show with CM Punk. He's about the only one of the Chicago group that I didn't work with, that little clique. But like I said, one of my favorite opponents was I try to forget about the hardcore days, although my son wrestled with him nearly every month for almost 6 months. That's Madman Pondo. And most people don't know, but he's not just a weapons guy. That guy can really wrestle if he wants to. Necro Butcher, who was in the movie The Wrestler, wrestled him, but worked both those guys multiple times. There's a lot of hardcore guys out there that people are, they think that's all they can do is, hit somebody with a light tube or hit them upside the head with a chair. And a lot of those guys like Pondo, the second you try and get a little stupid on them, they're gonna throw a little bit of real wrestling in your face, some amateur stuff or chain wrestling, and make it a little tight on you. And they're going to tie you into knots and make you think about trying to test an old man, you know?
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I know some of those guys. I mean, yeah. I mean, like Necro Butcher's hardcore stuff is just hard to look at, man, because it's just so gruesome. Oh my god, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought he was kidding when Madman Pondo had told me when he found out I was going to be working Necro. He's like, Necro is one of my best friends, and he basically wrestles what he shows up in, and that's what he did. He took his tennis shoes and socks off, and took his shirt off and put on a wife beater and wrestled in jean shorts, and well, we beat each other all around Kansas, and but yeah, I mean, you know, and what you see in that movie really ain't far from the real Necro Butcher. You know, he's like, don't go throwing me off them ropes all the time. He's like, my legs are wore out and don't work so well anymore. And let's just go out there and let's just do our thing, but don't make me run too much because I'm getting old. And of course, Necro's health hasn't been the best, so we pray that, you know, things get better for him. And of course, another guy that's seen a lot, that's another part of Pondo's clique, is Too Tough Tony. He's worked with Damien on a bunch of these shows for a company called Insane Pro Wrestling, and that's whatever the initials are. It's alphabet soup out there anymore. But
right.
Yeah, so he you know, when you've got guys coming up to you like Madman Pondo and Too Tough Tony, and they're like, "Hey, man, you should be proud of that kid. He's like of yours." They're like, "He's yes sir, no sir, doesn't butt into conversations, enjoys just sitting here listening to us old guys tell stories," and you know they've kind of taken him under their wing. And you know, obviously they still do a lot of hardcore, not nearly what they did when they were a bit younger, but it's nice to know that guys like that have that kind of interest in your son, that they'll come out and stand in the hallway at these in strictly insane pro wrestling shows and be out in the hallway watching your kid wrestle just because they want to see this 16-year-old at the time before the pandemic broke out. You know, they want to see what he's got. And, you know, it's nice to know that there are guys out there that have that many years experience who will still slip into a hallway, you know, which is what got me working with me and Harsh working with Gary Jackson, was that he was the kind of guy that when he heard guys rumbling about somebody, like, you know, these guys are starting to do some things. And I will give Matt Maniac credit. He was the manager of the tag team power trip. And of course, then in those days we didn't care, but he helped us to a couple victories along the way. But you know, when you got guys talking about you, you know, that occasionally you get that one guy, you know, who'll step out and kind of see what you got, you know, and if they like you, you know, they'll take you under their wing. And you know, whether it be advice or, you know, actual training, you know, there's a lot of things that old timers can learn, which is why I'm glad to see that one particular company that Damien works with, that they've opened doors to the veterans, and the veterans have opened the doors to them, and it's kind of a filling out process. But you know, like I said, there's an A tier in that CHWA and a B tier, and the A tier deserves respect from the veterans, but they also need to learn that if it wasn't for those veterans, they wouldn't have a place to work, or even know that there is independent wrestling out there, and that there's an alternative to WWE or NXT or Ring of Honor or something. So it's nice to see that both sides have kind of taken a step back and said, "Hey, wait a minute, you know, we're all kind of hurting the business. Let's hash our problems out and see how we can all help each other." So that's been nice to watch that from the sidelines develop, because I many of my friends are the old timers like you, Rough Cut, you, Matt Maniac, and I like a lot of those young kids, and one of them is my son, and a lot of those guys are his friends, but there's also a lot of vets that he likes as well, that he considers uncles, because he grew up with, that was that position. It was a true brotherhood. And all of a sudden when you got a kid, you find out all of a sudden your kid's got 500 aunts and uncles that they didn't even know they had till they get in the business. And then they're like, oh yeah, I've went on the road a bunch of times with your dad, and then they start taking interest in him. And he, like I said, I mean, I get enjoyment out of watching him. And I've seen him do everything from the right thing to making mistakes, all the way to time limit draws. When you're his size and can go to a 30-minute time limit draw, and he was wrestling Chris Exodus, who is a pretty small guy. And he could do a lot of damage to Exodus when he would catch him, but the guy is so darn wiry that he's hard to catch, and he likes to hit and kick a whole lot when you ain't catching him. So like I said, it's interesting seeing my kid grow in the business. And he, like I said, I tried to put him in a position that he didn't want to be in a few weeks ago, and we had to have a little father to son talk. And he kind of put dad in his place and said, my mom didn't say go out and tell the whole world you're Jerry Blackwell's son, so it's okay, I'm your son, but let me book myself, let me decide where I want to go and who I want to wrestle for. And I hate to admit it, because the kid's so darn young, but he was right. I should be there when he asks for help, but I don't always have to give my opinion to him on things, because it's his round, and it's his time in the business, not mine. It's time for me to sit back and be a spectator and enjoy. And when advice is asked, I give it, but otherwise I probably need to be quiet and just be a fan, which is how I started down this road. I'm 52 now, so probably 40, 46, 45 years ago, I started watching wrestling as a little kid and was a fan. And, he taught me maybe it's okay to be an old man and just be a fan again. So,
yeah. So, like I said, we'll touch on this once again, because I know you mentioned it here about, some of your worst injuries here. With you being diagnosed with CTE, and of course now you said that you had 3 shattered vertebrae. So, with the shattered vertebrae, what did they do to help with maybe replacing the bone back where the vertebrae was?
What they did was they had to take part of my hip out and use that bone to make kind of like a Play-Doh type paste, and kind of just wrapped everything together with like kind of like a barbed wire, but without the barbs on it, and then packed that bone marrow around it. And I have basically one big vertebrae where there were once 3. And I wrestled I'd never missed a booking. And when I found out that one of them was fractured, I still had 6 months of bookings that were booked. So I'm like, okay, and like I said, I don't advocate it, but I was living off pain pills. They were prescribed to me, but I was living off pain pills to be able to walk out to the ring and do my thing for 6 months. But in doing so, I ended up shattering the one vertebrae that was fractured and shattering 2 more. So after I came to after my surgery, they said, we just wanted to let you know, you were one fall away from being paralyzed, one wrong fall away from being paralyzed the rest of your life from the waist down. So I mean, it was literally they all three were shattered into little fragments. There was nowhere they could put metal. You know, my wife has a titanium fusion, which is a titanium bar, which is what most people get. You know, but mine was like, you know, walking on shattered glass. You know, so it's probably a good thing I didn't know how bad it was, because I may not have done that last 6 months like I did if I'd have known that was going to be the case. But you know, when you built a reputation on being reliable and you've got 6 months of bookings left, you know, that I couldn't bring myself to say no to the promoters that I'd already said yes to 6 months earlier, you know. So and the concussions, that's nothing to play around with, you know. In this business and football and even amateur wrestling to an extent, you know, we use the term, oh, I just got my bell rung. Well, that's usually, if you really got your bell rung, that's usually what they call a class 1 concussion, which is the basic of basic concussions. And then there's class 2 and class 3. And I had MRIs done, and throughout my career, and they had totaled up to 23 class 2 and 3 concussions. So, you know, even if you've never been diagnosed with a concussion, Rick, the odds are that you've probably had at least 50. I know you wrestle a rough style, and you I would guarantee, whether you know it or not, you probably had about 50, even if they're just those I got my bell rung types.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know I've had a few, and I know my last one, I know that I had diagnosed and actually put me out of doing everyday activities for 3 weeks, was back in the summer 2018.
Yeah.
Got my bell rung by taking a fall too close to the ring after getting tossed out from the Battle Royal, and my head flung back and hit this side foundation of the ring. It was only covered by the skirt of the apron skirt. There was no padding there.
Oh.
Straight iron. So the back of my head hit that. So yeah, it's not pleasant.
No, and you know, to figure out the depth of concussions, the best example they might, because I have to see a neurologist twice a year, because once this CTE they diagnosed me with got so bad, I started having seizures. And thank God for my son Damien, who has literally saved my life a few times. Twice I ended up in comas. But it's you have to be like a mathematician to figure out. You have to know like trigonometry or something, because like the second concussion is easier, twice as easy as to get as the first one. The third one is twice as easy as the second one. You know, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And before you know it, you're an old man, and this thing called CTE creeps up on you. And, you know, you end up being like, well, how can I make this benefit somebody else? And as you may know, if you remember Chris Nowinski, who was in WWE for a short time, he came off the NXT or whatever the reality show to become a wrestler was. Yeah. And he was on there, and he wrestled on the main roster for just a little bit. But this dude was he's a genius. The guy graduated from Harvard Medical School, and he's now opened up this medical program, and I don't even know the name of it, because my doctor filled the papers out. So when I do pass away, my brain will be donated to science and to this concussion center, so that they can slice and dice it and look at it under a microscope and, you know, be like, well, there's another guy who was a dummy and did it too long. But, you know, but that's best thing I can do right now is try and teach my son, stay away from getting hit in the head with metal objects. And, you know, there's some things you can't avoid, like what you were describing. You know, you hit that people don't know that that's the hardest place on a ring to hit, even if there's proper padding, is that ring apron. There usually is nothing there, and if you hit your head right on that metal bar, that's there's some impact happening there.
Oh yeah, for certain. Definitely for certain. Maniac, I think you've got a question for Damien.
Let's see here. Damien, in the short time that you have been in the business, what is the most memorable match that you have been in so far?
Most people would probably jump straight to, me and Exodus's match where I won the CHWA title, but I have to say the Rumble that we had where me and, my dad both entered, I'd have to say that one's, it has to stay with me.
Yeah, that was a pretty special moment for me too. I mean, I'm not Zach Gowen, so I had to put my prosthetic on and walk in the ring at that time. I still had one leg, and it was rough hanging with all them kids and being one-legged and old. But it was pretty special to get to say that I was in a match with my son, And I never want to be like a Fritz Von Erich and put all that pressure on him to try and live up to Jerry Blackwell or Izzy Blackwell. You go out there and be Damien Blackwell and do what you do. Don't worry about trying to be us, because I know there are fathers like Jerry Jarrett and Fritz Von Erich and Tully Blanchard's dad and Eddie Graham. They put so much pressure on their kids to make them get in the business. It's nice to know, and not to say that my kid's ever going to get anywhere near the level he was at, but somebody like Dwayne Johnson, who went to his dad and said, "Dad, I don't want to play in that Canadian Football League. I want to end the business." And went to hear Rock tell the story. His dad, Rocky, was like, "What business?" And he's like, "The family business, wrestling." And that's how it was with us. My kid came to me, so I don't want to pressure him to move any faster than he feels comfortable with. And a lot of second and third generation kids have had their parents pull that on them. We're like, "Come on, you're representing the Von Erich name. You got to go out and be this and that and the other." I can't imagine living under the pressure that all them brothers have. I'm surprised Kevin's still alive with, that pressure. And now he's got his two boys wrestling, and you can tell that they love it. It's not him pushing them, but I've seen him a few times on MLW, and, it's nice to see, some younger kids who following a bloodline and are third generation wrestlers and are doing it because you can tell they love it. It's not because it's being forced on them.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, what I'm going to do now is we're going to get into the era of Power Trip, if we may.
Sure.
Rock on!
Lord. How did you develop your chemistry as a tag team with Harsh, and what were some of your better moments as your success with the tag team?
Well, we started actually in a band together, Power Trip. So it was the gimmick, non-gimmick. He was him and I was me, and we were the guys that you come see playing your local nightclub, playing original music, and eventually moved into some cover tunes because it gave us a chance to get in more places. But that's neither here nor there. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we started out as in a band, and that just kind of carried over. And the promoter took advantage of that fact that we could sell wrestling tickets at our shows. So locally, we quickly became a name, which are a draw, which is somebody who the promoter can say, "Look, this person sold me X amount of tickets. as opposed to where people, other guys might be like, oh yeah, I had my family there, and this and that. There are names, which is like when a promoter brings in, somebody who's retired from WWE and working smaller shows. And then there's draws, which are people that the promoter, they go to every show. They're like, okay, I need my tickets, X amount off the top. And, that way you're day above whatever's negotiated. And, we were selling the heck out of tickets for the first, well, basically my entire St. Louis area career, all the way from MBWA to Central States Championship Wrestling, which became RCW, to Max, UWA. Like I said, we always, wherever we went, we always tried to use that the music angle to help sell tickets. That way, you're better in your payday, and everybody likes money a little bit, and make sure you're not going to end up getting shystered by some promoter. But it also establishes that, okay, well, if this guy's got 50 people in the crowd and there's 200 people all together, he definitely shouldn't be working the second match or the third match. Maybe we need to put him on a little bit longer to keep all them ticket buyers there that paid to see the show so they don't go home early. And I guess good for us. It led to some pushes, and eventually fans, we were such big guys and both pretty athletic for our size, and we did have Matt Maniac with us, and we won some championships, and at one point the crowd no longer believed that there were any normal sized guys that were going to beat me in Harsh, and they would about riot if we lost a match. So finally a promoter came up with the ideal of, hey, I don't want you guys wrestling each other anymore. You're going to start beating each other up. So, I mean, that kind of became our thing in the Midwest was, Izzy Blackwell versus Harsh, and that became, a money draw. And then after Harsh retired, I continued on, and I gotten out of the hardcore ultra violent thing. And the only reason I got into that was RCW wanted something to compete with Paul Heyman's original ECW, and I was the only one dumb enough to always willing to get my head scrambled. But I had so much more fun, even though I can't remember as many of the matches when I went back to just pure wrestling like I did in my early career. And got to have some good matches with some really good talent that way too. So, but yeah, as much as it pains me, I do have to give some of that credit to Matt Maniac with the tag team championships that Harsh and I did win.
Yeah. Well, hey, Matt Maniac getting credit. Well, I guess anything.
I told you so.
I ain't just messing with my volume again.
Yeah. I didn't touch nothing.
I think it's the shrill of your voice that's thrown off the audio feed. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
La 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 la.
That's pretty much it. Well, I think Izzy, did I lose you again? I think I did. Hello. Okay. Maybe he's gone. Okay.
Maybe that problem there, but oh, are we not doing that anymore?
What? Well, no, he'll be coming back.
We don't make fun of that one anymore, do we?
What? Oh, jeez.
Who the hell cares?
So we're gonna move on here. Izzy will be coming back, I'm sure. But Damien, here's what I would like to ask you. So of course you still being in at a young age, still 17 years old, still attending school, I would assume. while you're getting your experience, you're attending school while still while you're in the wrestling business. So, are you getting more positive or more negative responses from your fellow students that know about you being in the business?
Well, to be honest, mostly at school I keep to myself, mostly except for like smaller little friend group. But from the people I do hang out with, it's positive.
Okay, and I would have to imagine it is positive. Whoever knows, because and trust me, man, I mean, I've been all gung ho about wrestling even when I was in grade school. Boy, let me tell you, people heckle. Trust me, I've gotten heckles and everything else. Going up through school, but hey, as long as you're living your life and you're happy and you're making the best of it, which I know I did. I mean, you're going places. I mean, you will go places. You just got to keep it. You just got to keep that dream. And hey, I did too. You just got to make the best of your opportunities. And and like you're saying, you've got a great mentor and your dad that will tell you exactly where you're going to need to go. To help make it in the business. So, like I said, and it's an overused phrase these days, and it's probably not used as much. But haters gonna hate. Let them hate. Who cares? They're not going to be part of you. Then don't even throw any focus on them. Don't throw many. You don't throw many. Don't throw many of your light, man. Just take that light away and focus in on what you want, man. So
Yeah, what you're telling me, Rick, is basically a life lesson. If you're not going to be there to help me with my challenges, don't try and jump on the bandwagon to celebrate my victories when I go to a bigger company if I get there. There's always going to be somebody that thinks they know more than they know, and those people. Even Vince McMahon said it's not real, but he didn't say it was that F word that will get you punched in the face by a whole lot of guys. And it's a 4-letter word, but it ain't the one that my mama told me not to say. And and but it's still one of the most physical sports in the world. And you see guys that are dying that rappers and basketball players and football players and guys from all different forms of entertainment. Once they've made their dollars off their original career, then they're like, ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to do this wrestling thing, and now that I'm famous, you think maybe I could give it a try, and of course Vince McMahon's always been one to utilize that, but AEW's taken a cue, and they're using some people for their names as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. If it takes having a Bugs Bunny or whatever that rapper dude's name is. I don't know. That's more my son's kind of music.
Oh man, I'm sorry. No, a man with three. If you have at least one man bun, you do not even belong in this freaking. Don't. Especially we got three. I mean, 3 man buns that form a triangle. It's like,
well,
dude.
Me talking about me and Harsh being in a metal band together, Power Trip. That was our thing when we first saw like the man bun thing kind of taking over, especially with the newer guys like the Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and all. We're like, why even grow your hair long if you ain't gonna wear it out?
Right.
Cut that stuff off and be cool during the summertime.
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh no.
Yeah, we ain't wearing no man buns in this household.
I want to try to learn something from today's WWE, but I can't. And when I try to watch it, I usually lay in bed and I'm usually falling asleep. So I can't.
I'm usually like yelling at the screen, being like, "Okay, who the hell booked this crap?" Or what road agent was in charge of this match, or who even let it happen? It's like this makes no sense at all. And it's not like guys' lack of physical talent or anything. but it's like there's no long-term storytelling anymore. I honestly think the best thing WWE's done in about the last 5 years has been this Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss, Fiend, Bray Wyatt kind of thing they got going on. And for 5-10 minutes a week, you get like a mini really good movie. And then another match comes on and it's something really horrible that I wish I hadn't watched. But, every now and then they'll pull one or two decent little things out. But, man, it just seems like they're struggling to get people to watch, let alone what are they, their attendance was sucking at live events before the pandemic happened. What's it going to be like after it opens back up? I mean, I'm sure people will come out to see WWE just to get out of the house. Like, I'll probably go to see some concerts of bands that I don't necessarily like, but just to get out of the house and be around a bunch of people. This social distancing thing sucks. So WWE's first, 6 months out of the gate, once things really open back up. I mean, we're on the cusp of that happening. So when it does really open up, their first 6 months or shows might draw, but I think AEW has a real chance at succeeding with the people that get turned off when they go watch WWE, but then you get AEW and I watch them and I'm like, I get motion sickness from all the flips and stuff they do. I'm like, okay, you can do a twist and corkscrew plancha. Can you do a wrist lock? Can you do a hammer lock? How about a headlock? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm glad that's one thing about Damien is that he's made it known and pulled it off in a match. He can fly over the top rope even at his size, but I believe he's only done it the one time and then practicing it before he did it at a show, and those are the only times I've seen him pull it out so far. But that's good because when you do pull it out, it should be in one of those special moments so that people are like, holy cow, did you see that big dude fly over the top rope? Not like, oh, wow, Braun Strowman just flew over the top rope, but, oh, I see that every week kind of thing, Kids don't know how to leave the high spots to the high spots.
Izzy.
Yeah.
One thing you got to realize once WWE gets out the gate and the fans are actually there, they're going to know what sucks and what doesn't and what the fans like and don't like. They don't get that right now because they don't have audio coming from those cameras in the Thunderdome.
Yeah. Yeah, when they go to live crowds, it's definitely going to hamper the things that the Fiend character does. There's a whole lot of editing that go into making those things happen that like have happened with that story. Like I said, it's almost become a mini soap opera every week. But it's the most interesting thing they've got going as far as I can see.
Yeah.
And Vince doesn't even know what he wants because it sounds like he's bringing Johnny Ace back. The late Animal's brother, John Laurinaitis, who everybody in the business hates. Vince McMahon finally fired him after about 20 years, and now after a couple years, he's calling him up saying, "You want your job back? You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me enough money to be the what's his title when he was there, like the vice president of talent relations, which basically means you fire a bunch of people." That's like the crappiest job you can get in wrestling. You don't get to give the guys their paychecks. You don't get to, give them good storylines or anything. All you get to do is fire them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Oh, well, they've got a long way to go. And, that's why I like to focus my attention on independence and stick to old school. But Izzy, I'm just going to cut to this question for you here, but what would you consider your most memorable match of your career?
Oh, that's really asking a lot. I would probably have to say because the arena was jam packed, and my wife had actually talked with the booker, and she basically became the booker of this match, and it was my next to last match ever, and we had brought Madman Pondo in for one last draw fight between us because, excuse me, at that point we were even in our careers. Like I believe it was like 2 or 3 wins apiece, and that was like our go home match. And Pondo put me over, and he's a hell of a dude. But just to the way everything transpired after the match, Pondo grabbing the microphone and giving me kudos, even though he was, wrestling using my former enemy, Devin Andrews, as his manager. He ended up choke slamming him in thumbtacks. And by the time the night was over, the crowd loved Pondo as much as me. We both sold every piece of merchandise we had, and people were trying to tear the ring canvas up so they would have something for us to sign. And everybody's like, no. Those things are way more than you can spend, and they are worth way more than our autographs. It ain't that serious. Go find a part of glass tube that we broke or something, Don't tear up the ring canvas for an autograph from a wrestler.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like I said, Pondo he's just been around it. He's just
31 years this year.
Yeah, man. With him running Girl Fight and just
Mhm.
and
Yeah, he's
ACW. I mean, my God. I mean, the guy's been around. I remember the guy within my first year, he worked with Central States, with Frank and all that, and him, and
Uh-huh.
my God, and so many freaking light tube matches. I mean, him and Beast worked, him and freaking Doug O'Shea at the time. I mean, my God, those guys are just blood. I mean, he just swing the shit out. I'm sorry. I mean, and it was just bust everywhere, and it would freak me out because it's like, oh my God, you're gonna have bits of these little glass tubes going out to the audience, which was some in the front row are like eating nachos. They got like cheese in them.
Two of my favorite Pondo stories, and I'll make them both quick. One was he's on the one end to the backyard wrestling video game that the Juggalos put out, and you punch him like one time and he starts bleeding. And then he was working a King of the Death Match tournament, and you know what a bed of nails is. Well, somebody had made a bed of sharpened pencils, and all these hardcore dudes are like walking away from this one weapon. And Pondo's like, well, what the heck are they all walking weird when they get over there? And he goes over there and looks and sees what it is. And he's like, well, hell with it. If you punks ain't going to use it, I'm damn sure going to use it. Dude worked the show, dug graphite out of his ass cheeks, excuse my language, drove all the way home, then went and watched a Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees baseball game in Boston, and then realized when he got back to his motel after the baseball game that there was still a piece of that graphite up there from a pencil right in his what's the proper medical term? His taint. His taint, that little area between your buddies and your butt. And he literally cut that thing open to squeeze that last piece of pencil out of his butt. He's one tough man.
Oh man. Holy crap. Man.
Don't ask how you write with it afterwards.
Shoot. So Damien, Do you have a favorite match stipulation or gimmick match that you would like to be part of, and if so, what is it?
Oh, it could just be me, from watching wrestling, but I've always wanted to do like a cage match of some sorts.
Those are a lot of fun. Plus they give a big guy who's not, that top rope's not so high down to the ring canvas where you want to land. But when you get up there and look on how far of a fall it is to the concrete floor, all of a sudden you're like, man, it's a cage match. I can hold on to this thing and I ain't going to fall that 15 feet. And then you can go up to the top and do something to where people remember it. So cage matches are fun. The match I can't wait till he matures enough to work and work, and it's with somebody who's capable of working it, is a match that I conceived and never got to work, is a C3 match, like the C4 explosive, only it's C3, chains, canes, and chairs. And I'm waiting because the chairs part of that with him right now is what worries me the most. I know the kid can take getting hit with a kendo stick or a chain, but it's the chair part of it that he needs to mature a little bit with. And like I said, it's got to be with somebody that you can trust to go out there and do what you need to do, and both of you make it home alive.
Yeah. Well, I got a phrase for you, Izzy. St. Clair 2002. Yeah. If you remember St. Clair, these were used as TV tapings at one point, and I've got the match somewhere. But it started off me and Chris Knight in a match, and then my partner at the time, Big Daddy, good Lord, not the Big Daddy.
Poor rough cut.
Yeah. Could be worse. Could be Derek Davis.
You must have been on Frank's duty list at that time.
No, the only duty that I was coming from was my partner, but that's another story.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, real quick, that guy went to a Denny's one time after a show and asked if he could order like 15 kid grand slams. And they were like, yeah, kid grand slams. And he wanted 15, and he was serious.
He ended up getting 2 dozen eggs.
Yeah, pretty much.
That neighborhood when it eats that.
Yeah, a lot of sulfur.
But what I would, oh my God, we'll get back to that here in a minute. But I'm going to say that in that match, the way that match ended is you using the cage to climb up to the top, and I think Big Daddy was on the canvas at that time, and he rolled out of the way as you launched, and boy, you hit.
Yeah.
Hit. And all I had to do was just put a foot on top of you. It ended up being like it started off in the singles, and it turned into like a tornado tag somehow. And me and Big Daddy were declared winners.
Yeah, exactly.
It's, the wonderful booking prowess of whoever that was at that time.
Yeah, but
cage matches are fun. They definitely are, and if you get thrown into one, or you're throwing somebody into one, make sure it counts. I'll tell you, the one I threw Snide in the cage, I made sure it counted.
Yeah.
Boy, he bounced right off of that, man. That was awesome. But yeah, I was there for that whole the kids lumberjack slams. I would have just cooked it for him, but like, you know what? Yeah, just cook it on there, and then just kind of like the little trough bowl.
Bring it out. Yeah, bring it out in a horse trough.
No silverware, sir.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Oh my God, that was gross. Oh my God, couldn't imagine. Let's see. Oh, Maniac.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me. My turn.
Yes.
Izzy, out of all the time you've been involved with pro wrestling, inside, outside of the ring, is there a moment or accolade that you would consider your greatest achievement?
Of mine?
Yes, yours.
Wow. Actually, it's kind of hard to get much as far as how I felt in the moment. The day that Steve Sharp, who's now an actor, signed his developmental contract for WWF, even though somehow he didn't make it there, so he ended up in WCW. But the day he signs his contract, the day of my first singles match, I'm wrestling him, and he's, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I hurt this dude, it was like the first time I threw Pondo head first into a trash can full of light bulbs. It's like, the internet's going to kill me. It's the guy that hurt this person or whatever. But yeah, and then I mean, you always got to appreciate the first time that a promoter feels confident enough in you to put the their big strap on you. And we all know what the real story is behind that, but there's still the fact that the promoter has to have a little confidence in you as well, that people ain't going to be walking out of their main event every show because the guy they picked as their champion stinks to join up.
Yeah.
So I like I said, I mean, first match and then the first time I won a singles heavyweight title are probably two of the biggest. But then of course there was the battle royal that Damien mentioned, being a one-legged amputee and getting to get in the ring and wrestle in a match with your son. That was a pretty big rush too,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just the courage and just wanting to get in there and just be part of it. And I'll tell you why, there's a lot of talk about that and a lot of good talk about it. Not just saying, what the heck's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I the way I got eliminated, traditionally in a battle royal, you have to go over the top rope. Well, I had been in the match so long that my prosthetic was really starting to aggravate my stump.
Yeah.
So Chris Exodus, who does a really nice figure four, I told the guys, all these kids were getting a rush off just being in the ring with me, which I thought was cool. But I was like, go tell Exodus to get over here and hook the figure four on me. Now they're like, but you can't get eliminated by a figure four in a battle royal. I'm like, I've got a titanium leg pressing on my other leg. I think we can make it conceivable that anybody in the world is going to tap out when that happens to them in real life. So we had him come over, and I had no problem doing the job for this kid. I think he's a good little worker, and he does the most with the size that God gave him, which isn't the most, but he's got a lot of talent. And so I didn't mind doing, a favor for him and making him look good, because I sure wasn't going to go much longer in that match. I could barely stand up. When you got an amputation, once that starts hurting from standing up, or it becomes difficult. And I was like, dude, I'm done. I got to wrestle. I lasted about 15, 20 minutes in there with my kid. And I was like, I'm done. Get me out of here. But like I said, when you get to wrestle with your kid, that's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah, that is awesome. All right, I think Maniac has one more question on his list, and I think it's for Damien here.
No. Yeah, Damien, do you have a list of dream matches that you would like to have in your career? If so, what are they?
Oh man. It's kind of tough because a lot of the people, I've wanted to wrestle have gotten a lot older now and aren't from my generation. So, obviously, like if it didn't matter age, Pondo, Necro, obviously, with the prosthetics and everything now, and the amputee, sadly. But my dad, of course, there's a lot of people. It's a big list.
He just described the entire South with that one line. I wouldn't mind fighting or wrestling my dad. Only family would fight family like we'd end up fighting. We would definitely be the rednecks of that show.
Hey, you're lucky. Some of those families in the South, their trees don't fork, so you ought to be lucky.
I got to tell you this one ring rat story, and I will keep it I will keep it clean. I'm working down in right outside of Memphis, and this girl comes up to me after a show, and she's being just a little too nice, and she looks kind of young, and I'm like, as I'm trying to get her age out of her, and finally I just come out and ask her, and she's like, I'm 16, and I'm like, I'm about twice your age, and she's like, it's okay, my daddy said so. You're a wrestler. And I was like, no, I got to get out of this town, and I ain't never coming back. I was like, now I know why Jerry Lawler stayed in Memphis all them years.
Wow!
Wow, that was below the belt there.
That was a shot. Oh my God! Holy crap!
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a good story. Now, do you have like any other another memorable road story, or even a fan experience that you could share with us? That's funny.
This one I can share now because my wife has heard the story before. But the very first time that Sherry Martell managed me and Harsh as a tag team, and she was our manager every time we wrestled in Georgia, she was like, she was working as our manager, so she was trying to break the ice, and she's like, and Sherry liked to party and stuff, but the promoter thought, we would have never done nothing to disrespect her or treat her like anything less than a lady. But she came out and she's like, okay, since I'm going to be working with you guys over the next who knows how long, you're no longer Harsh. Your name is, or you're no longer Harsh. Your name is Hash, because I could smoke you. And you're no longer Izzy. Your name is Easy, because I think I could have you anytime I wanted you. And the promoter heard this and immediately thought he had to cock block somebody, pardon the phrase. But like I said, I mean, neither one of us would have ever disrespected her in that manner anyway. But it's just one of those things that you'll never forget, knowing that here's this legend. It's awesome enough that she's your manager every time you go to Georgia, but that she comes up and yells something like that, like right after the match, and the like I said, the promoter heard it, and I guess he got his feelings hurt or something, because it's probably what he had planned, what he accused us of trying to do. And but yeah, I mean, she was just the most classy, awesome chick, and she was actually quite beautiful when you took all that makeup that WWE had her putting on, doing the scary Sherry thing. The lady was actually anything but scary in person. She was actually quite attractive.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, because they just overdo it in WWE.
Yeah. And
yeah, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, she was doing the thing with Shawn Michaels, when she started wearing all that super heavy glitter eye makeup and stuff, and they really almost uglied her up so it would look like, more to embarrass Shawn Michaels than for him to be proud of something. That's how I viewed it, because like I said, WWF was the cartoon promotion when I was a little kid. The NWA was where it was at when I was the little one, because they were running the territory system. And, once cable and that type of thing became available, I could watch wrestling from all over the United States and Japan in some cases, even. So it's like I just wasn't into the whole cartoon aspect of how Vince was running things in the early '80s and stuff.
Yeah. So I guess I mean, I know with the Matt Maniac here, I don't know if you guys had any
What you want, Ruby? You want the snowstorm or not the snowstorm?
I don't know.
Well, one of them includes us almost getting killed, and the other one includes a bunch of wrestlers peeing off the side of a highway, stuck in traffic for 4 hours on Thanksgiving Eve, and dancing in the streets.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Yeah, trips to Indianapolis will do that to you. As you know, you worked Indianapolis a bunch. So you know weird things can happen on that Highway 70.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Well, a near-death experience that anybody can piss and moan.
Yeah. I thought, oh dear Lord, baby Jesus, I'm gonna die in a little like Honda Civic or something with two other dudes getting run over by diesels. We were doing donut. Cause it was beautiful before the show. We go in, we work the show, and by the time we get out, it had blizzard, and we're driving in ice all the way home, and started doing donuts in the highway.
Oh God!
I'm like, man, somebody's going to tell my family that I died with Matt Maniac and his friend, in a sardine can of a car.
Oh my God! Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. That was. I don't know. That wouldn't go good on an obituary. I'll tell you that.
No.
The story leading up to it be funny as hell.
Shit. Yeah,
Indiana definitely turned out some trips. Those were me and Tim's first two shows up there. After that, I told the promoter, I was like, you don't have to pay me anymore. And they were fairly cheap back then. I was like, buy me a Greyhound ticket. I will take the time to let the bus drive me there and make all their little stops and drive me back home. It turns like a 4-hour trip into like a 10-hour trip going Greyhound. But at least I wasn't going to get crushed in a sardine can.
Right.
You don't know how well those things break apart, though.
Matt Maniac been disassembling Greyhound buses.
Yeah. Shoot.
Close.
Yeah. So I've actually got my last question of the evening, and that's actually going to Damien here. So Damien, I know you're still kind of young, so we can't, the whole experience, or whatever. But is there any moment that stands out as the most unplanned or botched scenario during one of your matches?
Yeah. I'd have to, my funniest, mess up I've had is me and Exodus were wrestling, and I was going up for a bonsai, and we were wrestling for a while, so everybody was kind of sweaty, and I had given him some boots, so my boots were a little sweaty, and I went up to the rope and almost fell, and his reaction was just priceless. He just completely moved. It was But I mean, other than that, I really haven't had a lot of botches or mess ups, luckily. But they'll come. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, that's for sure. We've all had a few of those. And some of us, our biggest botches is signing with managers. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but he is a little bit of a nut and carries around a teddy bear. being contractually obligated to somebody like that to make it.
Hold on, old man. There's one thing you need to know is like sometimes the crazy can bring out the dark. Maybe one day I'm calling on to your son.
You stay away from my son. I love him to death, and I had an active imagination when I was a young man. But and I'm sorry, Damien, but I never walked around thinking I was an angel who had been kicked out of heaven and had to find grace again by destroying the evil in the world, starting with the wrestling business. So just stay away from my son. He doesn't need any help.
Sometimes you need to embrace the evil, though. Remember that, old man.
Son, we're going to church Sunday. Oh, Rough Cut, where'd you find this guy?
He found me. I didn't want to try to drag him out.
Don't leave your password as password 123, and it won't be hacked easily, dumbass.
Actually, I guess I should have never set the password as Maniac's name. My nickname for him was Dumbass123, so I guess he's figured that out. So hey, Maniac,
Get the hell out of my life. Who needs you? Beat it. Leave me alone.
Oh my gosh! I think we've come to the end here. Thank God. Only for one thing of that. But man, my goodness, it's been quite a ride.
It's been something.
Yeah, it's been something, all right. Yeah, it has. And I could have not. I never thought I would beg for GQ to make sure he's back on the show. But my God, I sure hope he's back on next week. Oh my gosh!
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having it. Well, thank you, sir, for having us, and that crazy guy, Matt Maniac, for hacking your podcast.
Oh yeah. Well, who knows? I mean, it's who knows? It's not going to happen again. Trust me, if it does. Hey, you know what? I might even hire a detective to track IPs to find out where he's at, and I might have to go and pay a visit. Hopefully, it's something that I have to drive too far to.
I just want to real quickly. I saw a message come up from a young man who I respected when he was in the business, Sage Ramsey, and he said even the devil was an angel once. Damien, who's your real brother in the spiritual world?
We ain't gotta talk about that.
When we talk, he's telling me about Lucifer and how Michael kicked his butt and he got tricked out of heaven. Otherwise, he'd still be in the good graces of our Lord. So he knows all about evil being former angels and that a third of them are all bad. So, like I said, Matt Maniac, stay away from my son. Sage Ramsey just gave me more reason to let you avoid him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes somebody needs to shut the light off on the angel of light, though.
Unfortunately, that light got dimmed a long time ago. I can still make jokes at myself.
Matt Maniac is only attracted to the dark side because he thinks the dark side always has cookies. So
it does.
I could picture Matt Maniac being roommates with Cookie Monster at the dry out center or a mental health department or something.
I could see them hanging out in the bar together.
Yeah.
They can both drink milk. Anyway,
yeah. Milk.
We don't know who's gonna be our guest next week. I've actually been trying to confirm, but I've been trying to shuffle with the schedule. I've got shows planned up. Just I don't know where to set them, but I've actually got all the week through April. But guess who won't be on next week or any week?
Hopefully that guy.
Hold on. I'll let Mr. GQ be on. You both interview me.
Yeah, okay. Let me get right on that. I think
that would be worth the price of admission.
I think I'd rather interview Kermit the Frog being imitated by a third grade classmate who's practicing ventriloquism first before I would interview the maniac. So, oh my gosh. So hey, Izzy, Damien, great to see you guys. Thanks for coming on, and definitely
thank you both for having us.
Yeah, I mean it was a great show.
Yeah,
great to see you guys. I don't know when I'll see you guys in person again. My schedule's kind of hectic, but I know Sundays are kind of out for me right now, and I know you guys have got at least Damien's got a big show on April 25th, CHWA, possibly on April 18th with the Wrestling Apex. But anybody watching this, make sure that you're out supporting independent wrestling. Support independent wrestling because it's guys like us that's trying to keep the basics and make you guys, and we put our investment into you that come out and watch the show. We don't care about a script. We care about what we do inside the ring, and we care about our audience. So,
I just want to tell the fans that have been here tonight, support this podcast. Tell friends about it. If you're a wrestling fan and you've got friends that are wrestling fans, tell them about it, man. Support these guys.
Yeah, because we like to showcase the independents. Is what we do. That's what we specialize in. And we may even get maybe some larger stars from time to time, but if we do, but mainly we want to hit the independents. So, the maniac is gone. Thank you, Lord. But thank you very much once again for joining us.
Thanks again, Rough Cut.
This has been episode number 29, featuring Izzy Blackwell and Damien Blackwell, second and third generation wrestlers. And Damien's still carrying the torch for the Blackwell family. And we thank you very much, guys, for joining us tonight. And tune in next week. We don't know. Hey, follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Sorry. Forget Twitter. It's Facebook. It's YouTube. It's Twitch. Forget Twitter. My own reason. But it's all at balls count everywhere. And make sure you follow Facebook to have next week. But until next week, guys, this is WPW United States Champion Rich Ruby here. Saying good night for now.
Peace.
We'll see you later. Oh my goodness. Are we all here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Tim is something else.
Tim's going to need some throat lozenges after this show. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us on, Dave. I appreciate it, man. Especially for my kid, I mean, when you're new to the business, it's always nice when